You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, do us a favor and like and subscribe and comment on the video. Subscribe to the podcast for the audio podcatchers and give it a 5-star review as well. It costs absolutely nothing, but is able to keep all of this free. If you want even more, join the inside programs in the subtext link below. No trolls, 14-day free trial, the easiest way ever to cancel. Look at it as a way to get information. I give my 3 takes during the game for that platform. But if you just want to look at it as a tip, you can look at it as a tip as well. It's $5 per month once they start charging. And don't forget to check out a second listen on the network. Nearly every team, college or pro, is ready for you. Okay. Ole Miss has a running game. And if you don't believe me, ask Lane Kiffin, because Lane Kiffin loves to talk about the running game. Ole Miss right now has the leading rusher and receiver in the Southeastern Conference. I mean, hey, it's business as usual, right? Well, a lot of that comes from Kewan Lacy, the running back that Ole Miss has right now. I think he's a sophomore running back. For the most part, when Lane Kiffin has been here, Lane Kiffin says, for the most part, we've had the ability to run the ball before last year. It's good to have it back on the road in the SEC. And it is. In the fourth quarter, they just ran the ball. They threw the ball one time in the fourth quarter and put that game away. And that's pretty exciting to see. Everybody talks about that 3 and out with 7 minutes left to go. That was just bad luck. That was Kentucky making plays. It wasn't something they got conservative necessarily. And if you want to call that getting conservative, what they did, all they did was play winning football. And the only way Kentucky was going to win that game was by you giving it to them. So it's good that Ole Miss ran the ball effectively in the fourth quarter of that game. Kewan Lacy had 28 carries for 138 yards and a touchdown against the Wildcats. And a lot of those yards came before he was even touched. Ole Miss got 158 yards, according to the SEC network, before they got touched in the game against the Kentucky Wildcats. The offensive line gave up no sacks. And overall, Ole Miss ran for about 222 yards. Ole Miss running the ball, kind of where you want to do it. A little bit later on tonight, if the technology allows it to happen, we're going to have Todd Wade on the live stream. So get your questions ready at 7 o'clock Central Time for Todd Wade, and we're going to spend the second half of a 30-minute show taking viewer questions, or if anything is there. So I'm pretty excited about that. With all of the narrative about the offensive line, I am curious to talk with one of the better offensive linemen that Ole Miss has ever produced about playing that position and what is going on. Kewan Lacy benefited from that. Whether Ole Miss got Delano Townsend and he made that big of a difference at left guard, or whatever happened with the offensive line, they were good on Saturday. And we'll see exactly how that goes. Now, before we get out of here and look at Jayden Curtis, who committed to Ole Miss, we'll show highlights of him in the next segment. But the rumor, when I was watching the Lane Kiffin press conference, is that Ole Miss was close to finalizing a deal, or they have finalized a deal with Pitt for 2026. The question was asked in the press conference by Sam Hutchins, just so everybody knows what's going on there. But Lane Kiffin answered the question. He said he thought it was close. So it feels like the game is going to happen. It feels like Ole Miss is going to open with Pitt or something like that in 2026. So I'm pretty excited to see that. It's one of those teams that in the early days of ESPN, you always had like Mark Gottfried and Ron Franklin coming to you live for a Pitt Panthers game. You know, that's the school where Tony Dorsett's from, where Dan Marino's from, where Larry Fitzgerald's from. And they have that royal blue color and yellow that just looks interesting. So I'm kind of curious to see what that would look like. But they are, I think, slated to come to Oxford, Mississippi in 2026. Good player. ACC school. This is the Power 5 game. Ole Miss gets another home game which means, if I'm not mistaken, Ole Miss goes on the road to Charlotte next year. Seriously. And you figure there will be another G5 game as well on the schedule. So it'll be Pitt, Charlotte, and the other G5 or FCS game. I don't think that schools are going to get rid of the FCS game because the FCS schools depend on it to make their money. They call it a rent-a-win for a reason. FCS schools go to Alabama or Ole Miss and get their brains beat in for a check that's about $1.5 million. And that kind of keeps their athletic department afloat. So Ole Miss and Pitt looking forward to seeing what that looks like. But Ole Miss is getting close to finalizing their non-conference slate, and sometime in December we will get the schedule for the 2026 season from the Southeastern Conference that includes 9 SEC games, and you have the one game against a Power 5 opponent as well. Kind of interesting to think about where that could end up. You know, in our final segment, Ole Miss just scored a big commitment, literally. St. Martin defensive lineman Jayden Curtis has flipped from UCF to the Rebels at 6'5", mid-200s, 260 pounds. Curtis brings size, length, and upside that Ole Miss desperately needs in the trenches. We not only take a look at what type of player the Rebels are getting, but how Curtis fits into the bigger picture, especially with future SEC opponents like Texas and Georgia and Oklahoma, all loading up on the line of scrimmage. That's all coming your way right after this. Anyway, thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your go-to source for Ole Miss sports. We pride ourselves on offering the most comprehensive perspectives, which is why we're the front door of Ole Miss. Do not forget to subscribe, like, and comment. It helps the show, and it's totally free. Your support means the world to us. In another big moment for Locked On, by the way, college football fans, Locked On and Fire TV are presenting College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation alongside two-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson and college star Jesse Holley, along with Locked On's local experts. The college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. Hotty toddy, everybody, and remember, analytics is just the old English word that means bad football. We'll see you tomorrow.